Hello everyone, and welcome to today's video. It is just going to share with you a little bit of my heart today. I'll be honest with you, I was not going to film today, but I thought, let me turn my camera on. There's something on my heart and on my mind. I was sitting in the kitchen, at the kitchen table, and I just kept thinking to myself, God, why did you make me the way I am? Now, some of you have maybe never asked that or had that question in your whole entire life. Why did God make you the way you were? But a lot of people like me who are very sensitive, we think about a lot of things. I can think about a lot of things that the average person probably wouldn't even think about, simply because I am so sensitive. And I have to navigate all that sensitivity in my life. And I found myself saying, God, you made a mistake. Why am I this way? Why do I have to feel so strongly? Why do I love so strongly? Why do I seem to not get over mistakes that I made? Why am I always trying to explain myself over and over and over again? Why do I not accept when people reject me? And I felt like God was saying, I don't make mistakes, Tessie. I made you the way you are. So then I had this conversation with God. Okay, well, if you made me the way I am, what am I supposed to do with all these feelings? All these feelings of insecurity, all these feelings of rejection, all these feelings of hurt and pain and anguish and loneliness. What am I supposed to do with all these things? When I hear things on the news, and I get panicky about it. Why me, God? Why can't I be like so-and-so who's so strong? You see her on her videos and she can say whatever she feels and she doesn't ever get worried about what other people are going to say about her. Why am I not like her? Or why am I not like that guy? Look at him. He doesn't have a care in the world. He doesn't seem to worry about anything. He's just living his life. I don't know the answers to all of this. I know I was born with a sensitive spirit and a highly sensitive spirit. I was born that way because ever since I can remember, I was that way. In school, when there was a child that was picked on or made fun of, I was always the one that stood by their side and became their friend. I was the one in high school who became friends with all of the kids that other kids didn't like. We had our own group. And it was kids that most kids weren't friends with. So how can that be? Well, in school, these kids were the kids that weren't the popular kids. Some were nerdy. Some had a lot of psychological issues and physical issues. I was their friend. And I stood up for them and I stood by their side. And I became somewhat of a leader of this group. And we performed and produced our own little group. We were the Misfits, is what you would want to call it. No matter what school I went to a public school for a couple years, but most of my years were in a private school. I went to a Mennonite school, and then I went to a full gospel school. No matter where I went, there was kids that were with me, and we were the ones that were not the popular group, but we were so happy. I never wanted to be in the popular group. I found the girls in the popular group snobby, snooty, and high class. I never was that way. I was a tomboy. I wore tomboy clothing, and that is how I lived my life. I liked being a tomboy, and my closest friends were always boys. I didn't really have a whole lot of girl friends, although I had a couple that were very close to me. Most of my friends were guys. I could relate to them. But as I got older, I got more sensitive. Now, I know a lot of it is because of being adopted. I have a lot of rejection issues. I can see where that comes from because it does come a little bit from my adoption in a way, because I was given up for adoption. And I'm not really going to go into all of that. I've done so many videos on my adoption and how I feel about it. And I look on it now at age 53, and so much of my life, I still feel like a child. And I think all of us are children inside. And I think all of us, no matter how old we get, we still have that same mentality and personality as what we did when we were children. And so I still think like a child. I remember when I was 5 years old, sitting at the kitchen table. I was sitting here, my dad was sitting here, and my mom was sitting here. And we always had our special seats where we sat when we ate. Always had our same seats. And my mom looked at me and said, "Did you know, Teresa, you weren't always our little girl?" And I remember it like it was yesterday. And I looked at her and I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, you had a mother, but your mother died after you were born. And your father gave you to us." And I remember my dad saying, "But you are our little girl." He said, "You're ours now." He said, "You're special." He said, "Because we picked to keep you." I can never forget that. And I think about that often. And I think about my parents and the loss of my parents almost daily. The pain isn't quite as hard, but it's still there. And I said to God, why do I still feel the pain of that when my other siblings have moved on with their life and everything is as usual, but I can't get over it? Why? And God just instilled in my heart, he said, "There's nothing wrong with being super sensitive, Tessie." He said, "You have a caring heart." He said, "You love people." And he said that you have a good heart. I needed to hear that. And it was that small, still voice, not an audible voice that, came from the thunders of the heavens. But I understand that we need to embrace who we are in life. And I have really accepted who I become. All of my flaws, all of my pain and hurt and mistakes I've made in life. All of these things. I recently made a video and I talked about some things, and then I didn't air that video because I thought it was really interesting, because once I opened up my heart and the floodgates came out of my emotions, that's all I needed. I needed to get it out. And I think that's one thing that has become the hardest thing I had to deal with, because most of my life I never was taught how to get it out. My mother was the kind of woman who kept it all inside, and she would never express emotions. She always hid it. Now, she expressed her emotions in private, but she never handled her own emotions very well. And I was never taught how to share my emotions. And so I kept it all inside. And then when I started making YouTube channels, all of a sudden I realized, oh wow, I have a voice. I can talk. People are listening. I have something that's worthwhile, because people were really resonating with what I was saying. It's like my brother said one time. He said, people seem to like what you have to say. That's true. People really did like what I have to say when I started my YouTube channel, because I was so vulnerable. I didn't realize that there was narcissists out there. At the time when I made my videos and my channel, I was like a baby, a child. I didn't realize there were people that were very mean. I didn't know about that. So I had that innocence to me. When I made my first videos, I had all of that innocence to me, the naiveness, because I had no clue. And then through the years, I started realizing how people can become. And then I had to decide in my heart, can I continue to have that innocence and share with the world my heart and my feelings? Or now, because I know how the world is that going to keep me quiet? And for a long time, it did keep me quiet. For me, it was just easier. Oh, just don't talk about your feelings. Don't talk about these things. Then people will let you alone. But it came to my attention. And my conclusion is this: that if I don't share my heart, and I don't do my heart to hearts, and I do keep it all inside, I have no one to minister to, and I don't share that light with people. I share my light because I share my vulnerability. I share when I make mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes in life. We all have. But I want to share with the lessons that I have learned in my life, because in sharing that is what I'm about. I don't want to be known for oh, she hauled water out of her house for all those years. Or, oh, you mean the Homestead Tessie, the one that had the rain barrels? I don't want to be known for that. Or the Homestead Tessie that does the Thrifty Thursdays. Well, all of these things are great, and all of these things are fun. That's not what I want to be known for. I want to be known for the Homestead Tessie that had courage, that had stamina, that had a voice. And no matter what came her way, all the mudslinging and all the degrading things that people want to say or do, she still got up and fought back and shared her life. That's what I want to be known for. And so while adversaries come, it has built a backbone in my life. While at one point it looked like all of that was done was going to win. It's a little bit like the gospel story. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I'm not going to hide it under a bushel just because I want life to be easier for me on YouTube. I want to be known for somebody who kept getting back up, brushing herself off, and starting another day. And so I said to the Lord, I said, okay, you made me super sensitive. I said, but God, you're going to have to give me a backbone. You're going to have to give me that shield. You're going to have to give me that strength. You're going to have to give me that courage to continue to do what I'm doing, to share my life with all of you, knowing that I know now how the world that is beyond my camera lens. And he said he would. He said, this is my calling, and I'm standing by it. So I'm back to sharing my life. I'm back to sharing things. I'm back to my heart to hearts in a very personal way, because that's what I'm about. I am not going to ever be silent. I'm not going to ever delete another video in my whole entire life. I don't need to delete a video just because a few people may get stirred up by it. I'm here to make a stand right now. I don't know how long I'll be on this earth, but I'm going to make a stand every day that I am. My mother said something to me that just really makes me think. My mother didn't speak for 7 years or 8 years before she died. One of the last conversations I had with my mother that she able to speak was this. She was feeling really bad because she couldn't do the things that she did. And she couldn't do those physical things. And I sat with my mother and I shared my heart with her. I thanked her for adopting me. I thanked her for giving me a home and giving me a life and showing me about Jesus. I thanked her. I told her everything I wanted to say. It was a beautiful moment. And my mother said, I just can't do anything anymore. And I said to my mother, Mom, as long as you have breath to take, God is going to use you because you can pray for people. And there was a point in my life where it was so low that the attackers were attacking me and making fun of me and making fun of what I said and making fun of me what I look like and just making forums and making videos and doing this and that. There was a point in my life that I just thought, why? I don't want to do this. This isn't very easy. This is hard. And I remembered what I told my mother. I remember what I told my mother. As long as I have a voice and breath and I can breathe, I am going to share what God has done in my life. I'm not going to give up. My mother didn't give up. I'm not going to give up. This is my platform. This is what I need to do. I need to be a light in a dark world. In order to do that, I have to be vulnerable and I have to share my life with other people. And that is my calling. I never dreamed it would be my calling to be a light in this platform, in this way. But it is my light. And my prayer is that someday, that somebody who doesn't acknowledge my light, a hater, will come to know Christ. That would be my prayer, that someday when we get to heaven, that somebody would say, Tessie, I was one of your haters. I didn't like you. But God found me at my deepest, darkest moment, and that I gave my life to Christ. And so that is my purpose, and that is my motive, and that is my drive. For those of you who want to hear and want to be part of my life, that is what I'm here for. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.